This is how I do it. Always, this is rule number one. Never forget this or you'll regret it for at least 2 hours cleaning up the mess. Always connect your mill directly into the receptacle or the receiver tank, or you will have a mess. Once it's fully docked, you can set it to pastry if you're doing breads, like sweet breads. Regular bread is their setting, but if you want a little lighter bread, typically set it at 12 o'clock is what Unsifted prefers. Then after it's plugged in, go ahead and start it up and it will get quite noisy. And as it starts getting close to being done, then look out. These will come flying out sometimes. And once you're shut down, and turn it off, plug that, flip over, and you're ready. Just to have it, I stir it up a little bit because it acts like sifting. And go ahead and get a level cup. And you typically will use a knife. This is a double batch, and then I usually retain this just for the remain. Is you want to use a fast rise instant yeast. You'll get your best results. I usually go for slightly heaping teaspoons. Noting that a little extra yeast gives you a little better rise on the loaf. You can use honey or sugar. I typically use just regular table sugar because it's a little less messy. And I put in 4 tablespoons of salt, and this will be at your discretion. 1 is probably adequate, but the recipe typically will call for 2. This is at your option. I do use this. Sifted highly recommends the sunflower lecithin. The sunflower lecithin is basically a bonding, and it's a little bit of a health additive bread. And I will go ahead and just mix the dry ingredients well just for a minute or so before I will add the milk or any of the other liquids. So when you get your eggs out of the refrigerator, of course they're cold, so you'll want to warm them up, but I always do the float test first. If they float, toss them. They should sink totally to the bottom of the glass. Then I'll submerge each one or both of them into some warm water to assure that they're room temperature, because I'm a big believer in temperature for the yeast to work. If you put cold eggs and cold milk in, it will not rise with the fast yeast as well. Then I'll spare you the breaking of eggs into a bowl. I think you probably know how to do that. And then go ahead and get your olive oil, good quality olive oils. You want to use California or European oils. I typically will use We use Bertolli. It's actually a very good brand. We'll just add the oil in with the eggs. And after we put the oil in the eggs, we'll be ready to add the milk. And we'll go ahead and pour out our milk to the 2-cup mark. And then we're gonna warm this up to 130 degrees, not over 130, but around 128 to 130 works the best. And next, you'll want to get yourself a instantaneous thermometer. The digitals are very fast, or instantaneous are very nice. I think you can buy them on Amazon for about maybe 10-15 bucks, ain't very bad. That's about 123. I'm going to give a little more heat. So I went a little bit over by about a degree. Just let it stabilize. Microwave food tends to keep cooking after you pull it out. So there we go, 129. So we're good. But the instantaneous thermometers, it just takes a lot of guesswork out of it. And if you're locked, put it in slow speed. And we'll slowly pour that in. You want it at 130 because it will work the best to make the yeast for it. Then pouring the eggs. You want to use fresh eggs, is what I typically will do. That's why I will float them. Then once you get this kind of stirred in well, and put it on about medium. And let it run for about 2 minutes. And if you see, after about 2 minutes, maybe 3, you start to see where the fibers start to stretching. So it's ready. Finally, to bring it up to the desired consistency. That's not too stretchy. You can run it all low when you add that last half cup. I'll use either the wheat flour that I have remaining in the tub, or I'll just use bleached flour. Your discretion, which you like. But it's about the right consistency when it hangs on the paddle. Just go ahead and clean off your paddle. Typically use metal pans because I have the best heat results on the bread. And some people maybe say, well, why would you do that? I reuse my parchment paper because it seems to almost work better. I went ahead and I lay it on there, take to the pan, smush it in, and it gives you a nice form right away for your next loaf. You use fresh paper, you want to crush it up, and grab your other pan. Same thing, and it'll just make it nicely formed for you for your loaf. Now we're ready for the fun part. Scrape the bowl, get it freed up as much as possible. Go ahead and I always have an extra little bit of flour laying around if I have from other batches. So I just keep it in a little container for that purpose. And I'll drop this full loaf, or 2 loaves I guess, onto this flour here. And you just keep folding that and do this 50 times. You can do it with that pad spatula, or you can do it by hand. What works best for you. It's a good tension reliever. Just beat on it. take it out with your boss, someone you're mad at. Hitting is optional, but I just fold it over. Do that 50 times. Starts to get a little sticky. You still can add a little more flour to the outside. Then once you get yourself a nice bowl, you go ahead and I'll throw a little olive oil into the bottom of this bowl, just enough to kind of coat it, and I'll kind of roll the ball around inside, just kind of shake it. Like it loses less moisture when I do that, so at your discretion. Cover this and wait about 10 minutes. Once your 10 minutes have elapsed, your dough will about double if everything's going well. So at this point, you go ahead and add some flour to your counter. And get your dough and let it fall quickly on the counter. And guesstimate where middle is for your second and third, first and second loaf, I should say. However you want, you can use the same recipe for buns or whatever you want to do. But we'll proceed to shape the loaf. Kathy had one of these little handy dandy little rollers that I really like. That's pretty good. You can work it over and get it nicely evened out. Pretty well, get it down to about equal across. Doesn't hurt to go a little thinner. Never had any. At least get it down to about ½ inch thick. Make it bad, and proceed to just roll that baby up. And get your foam cord stuck in there, that's optional. So then go ahead and I fold the ends in, give it a nice appearance on each one. Kind of toughed it up a little bit, kind of get it shaped right. Pick that little girl up and then drop her into one of the pans and do the same to the other. Then, of course, your loaves with bread, you just want to keep it in a fairly warm place and away from drafts, so it will have a better rise. I typically will use a proofing bag. I've used these basting bags, are pretty well. Just go ahead and just kind of pump up the bag, a little air in it. Use my clothespin. Just a nice little knot into it. I'll go ahead and twist it into that end of that proofing bag and put a clothespin on it, and this will sit here for 35 minutes. It's been 35 minutes and the bread's risen about a little over an inch above the top of the pan, so we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven. We use a convection oven. Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed to put them both in this convection oven. You can use your regular oven, it's fine. I just like to use this one. One of the things that I will be doing midway is adding a foil hat on the loaves, roughly about 20 minutes, in case they get too brown on top. We'll put these on here just to kind of keep them from browning. Oh, still about a minute or so left on it. We'll just check where we're at here. I do like to use this fast response thermometer. Just double check it. And it's at 180, so 180 it's done. And there's the loaves all ready. I will grab my cooling rack. That's why I like to use the parchment paper because it's so much easier to get out of the pan. That's a lot easier. Pull out and deal with sticky dough crust on the sides. Then I just reuse it again. As you can see, it starts to get kind of bad after a while, but it comes out pretty good. So we'll just do a little butter. We use butter here because they say margarines are one molecule away from plastics. So, growing up in the dairy business, Kathy and I, we both believe butter's a better choice. Just haven't really found any benefits margarine over butter. But you will find that the butter kind of holds in the moisture. I typically make 2 at a time, so I can freeze one, just have it a little easier, a little quicker. Maybe probably a loaf a week you like to do. So we've started to, I guess you should say. And after it kind of cools, I'll lift them off the paper and let them cool. Finish cooling.